Hello everybody, this is Dro and welcome back to the second episode of my Redstone tutorial series. Today we're going to talk about two kinds of powered blocks, about redstone torches, about repeaters, and I decided not to talk about comparators because I don't want to overload you with information and we don't need them right now. So after these three platforms we're going to go straight into the logic gates in the next episode. But let's have a quick repetition. So what we learned last episode is that we have plenty of input mechanisms, just as levers or buttons or tripwire, and also plenty of output mechanisms, just like lamps or pistons or doors or note blocks or anything basically. And if we place an input mechanism onto a block and that mechanism gets powered or interacted with, then it powers the block that it's attached to as well. And this powered block will then turn on every input mechanism on top, next to it, and below it. It will not power them. As you see, if this would be powered, then this lamp would be on as well. It does not power them. And we can also power blocks by running a redstone line into them. And that only works for some blocks, and this as well. Because only those blocks can conduct power which are rendered as a full cube and which you can't see through, except for slime blocks and these two, the spawner and the end portal frame. I didn't mention those because honestly I didn't know about that, and it's also not really important to know that. And as you see, every block that you can see through, or that is, I don't know, a half slab or something, that is not a full cube basically, and glowstone don't conduct power. So that is basically what we learned in the last episode. What you might have seen me do is something like this. When I talked about the pressure plates and the daylight sensor. And the reason why this works as well is because redstone not only powers the block that it's pointing into, but also the block that it's lying on, provided it is one of these blocks or block types. So that is something you might need to get used to. I took a while to understand that, but I haven't been told that explicitly, so I don't know. Next up we have, of course, here a powered block, and here a powered block as well, right? Because this one receives power from this lever here, and that can give a redstone signal to another block, and that is now powered as well. But what happens, because these are both powered blocks, you might think this one should also give power to redstone dust. But it does not. And the reason why this is a dot is it's no extraordinary redstone or something. It's just like if it's into a line, like it's connected to something else or to other redstone, it will only power the block that it's pointing into. And if it's a dot, it will just power all the blocks around it. And basically what you need to know for that is, in the beta, it looked like this block right here with the 4 ends going into every block. So that's a bit unfortunate that they changed that, but yeah, just note that a dot powers all the blocks around it. But what does this tell us? That tells us that we have two kinds of powered blocks. One that lights redstone next to it, and one that doesn't light redstone next to it. And let's take that to over here. So we have here what I call a weakly powered block. There are a bunch of names for that. As you see, it doesn't do anything really. And we have here a strongly powered block. At least weakly and strongly powered, that is what I call them. There are a bunch of different names like first degree and second degree power, or source power and simple power, or whatever. And you see this block gives redstone, or lights redstone next to it, down below, and also on top. Now this connects, so we need to block it off to show it properly. On top of it as well. But how do we determine whether a block is strongly powered or weakly powered? Well, the rule is quite simple. If there's only a redstone line, or if it's something like this, then these blocks are weakly powered. If they are powered in any other way, like through an input mechanism, through a repeater, through a comparator, or a torch powering this block here basically, and that powers the redstone dust here. These are strongly powered blocks, and also the redstone block itself counts as strongly powered. And that's pretty much all the ways that you can power a redstone. So if it's powered by anything other than just a plain redstone line, then it is strongly powered. That is quite important to remember, because we'll see in a bit. Okay, moving on to redstone torches. I said in the last episode they are a power source, which is true, because, as you see, they give power to redstone that is in an adjacent space, so to speak. And this one counts as occupying this space, and the torch as occupying this space, so in a sense this is also adjacent. And you see you can put them on top of a block and on the side. What happens if we power this block is quite interesting. It's also quite lame, actually, because they just turn off. So basically the torches do whatever the redstone doesn't do. And this technique is called inverting, and we're going to talk about that in the next episode a lot, when you are going to build a logic gate. But it also has some quite interesting power behavior, which is not really important to know, but it is good if you have seen it once. So redstone torches power the block above. It's the only technique to power a block that is above without using a lever that's attached on the bottom of a block. And it's actually powering this one, and this one is then turned on because it's adjacent to a powered block. As you see, this one's not powered, because else this lamp would turn on. It doesn't power a block that is next to it, but it gives a redstone signal to it. It doesn't power it, because else this block would be powered. You can, however, power the block above again with putting it on this side. So a little bit different setup. but this one actually powers this block. And what it doesn't do is powering the block beneath, because that wouldn't make much sense if this powered the block below, and then because this block's powered it would turn off again and just cycle around all the time. But you might be wondering what happens if we do that. So let's do that. I've just set up a simple circuit where we can loop it around. Yes, quite strange behavior, isn't it? So what happens here is when a torch turns on and off for more than 8 times in 3 seconds, then this will happen, and it will just, with a random block update, turn on again, or if we put a block next to it, but it will burn out, basically. So this is the term, it will burn out, and there you have seen it randomly going on again. This is something that you want to avoid in Redstone. So over here we have pretty much the same setup. If you don't believe me, then go through what it does in your head. Maybe you even pause the video for that. As you see, it does the same. Yeah, it's a good practice to think of why that happens. What we also can do with redstone torches is when we arrange them in a loop, it will create a very basic clock. And the reason why this works is because redstone torches take 0.1 seconds or 1 redstone tick to activate when they're unpowered and to turn off when they're powered. So because we have 3 torches here, that means we have a clock that turns on and off roughly every 0.3 seconds. Same thing here with 5 torches. That just turns on and off every half a second. So it has a clock cycle of 1 second basically, and this of 0.6. It's, for the moment, it's just important to know that it has a delay of 1 redstone tick. What happens if you take an even number of redstone torches and loop them? You can try for yourself. I will remind you at the end of the video for that, however. And because that's quite interesting. What we can also do with torches is create torch towers. You may have seen something like this. You can also think of why it works for yourself. I think that's also good to practice. And yeah, that was basically everything about redstone torches. So let's move on to the last topic for today, which is repeaters. Repeaters have a bunch of different functions, and when I say that, I mean really a bunch. So the first function is, as I said last episode, a redstone signal can only travel for 15 blocks. And sadly, this lamp is more than 15 blocks away. So what we can do is put a repeater here, and that will bring the signal back to full strength so that it can travel another 15 blocks. And that is basically where the repeater has its name from. I can quickly show you why the crafting recipe is like that, because before repeaters existed, you used to do something like this. And you see, if you give a redstone signal here, then it turns on again, and so it turns off. So this is roughly the recipe of a repeater. Next we have a delay, which is indicated by how far these torches are apart, basically. You can right-click to adjust. And as you see, that is way slower now. Now every setting basically raises the delay by 1 tick, or again 0.1 seconds. So this is basically 2 seconds until it turns on or off. Jeez. And now it's half a second. Now, this is quite interesting. We can, as I mentioned, in the platform before the torch one, we can power a block strongly, and that block will then emit redstone power to a redstone dust. And in this case, power this block here as well. Now, what we can also do is pull power out of a powered block, and it doesn't matter if it's strongly or weakly powered, it just matters that it is powered. The same thing with the torches. You see weakly powered and strongly powered. Forgot to say that. And the difference between those is this one. So as you can see, we have the strongly powered block here, which powers this redstone dust and this redstone dust, and therefore the blocks around it. And this setup only powers these 2 blocks, because this one is weakly powered and doesn't turn on this redstone. And the other difference is that these, because there's no delay on the redstone dust, turn on at the same time, and this one will turn on 0.1 seconds later than this one. So that's basically the difference. And you need to remember that, because that is often quite important. Anyway, next function of repeaters is a diode function. You see this sort of not cone, but I guess it's sort of an arrow. It will only let redstone go through in this direction. As you see, in the other direction it just blocks it. So yeah, if you don't want this output be powered by this input, then just do something like this. Next up we have a redstone dust divider, sort of. As you can see, we can't power all of these. We can just power one like that. And with repeaters we can power the blocks because it doesn't connect here. What we can do is put redstone dust here, because it divides repeaters and dust. It just does that. I think you get what I mean here. And if we replace this one, it just doesn't work anymore. So this is, in very compact designs used for any potion brewing or something, or in pretty much anything that's really compact. Next function we have is this. Now this repeater works just like you would expect it to be, but if we point a repeater into that other repeater from the side, you see this bedrock bar appear. And that means the repeater is now locked and we can't power it. And same thing when we lock it in the powered state, we can't unpower it. And of course, if we release the lock, then it will unpower again. What we can use that for is if you have a base entrance and have a switch somewhere visible, and you don't want any attackers, for example, or any other people to go into your base, then have a hidden switch somewhere, I I don't know, underwater or whatever. And now no one can open your door. But you can also just flick the switch back and it works just fine. And also it is used, or the delay is very important in some piston contraptions especially, also in some others. But what happens if the delay is too small or not even there? I can show you. Then only that happens. That has to do with the behavior of pistons, and we'll get to that in another episode. But yeah, that is basically all you need to know about repeaters. So this concludes today's episode. We're going to talk about logic gates in the next episode, and you will finally have something to do. And yeah, as I said, try to use this one with an even number of torches and see what happens. Also, if you give power to those blocks individually, that's a good practice for you. So, with that, I say thank you very much for watching. Please give a like if you like this video, maybe even share it if you like it that much. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.